Good day. Welcome to Westchester Talk Radio, westchestertalkradio.com. I'm John Marino, and we are made possible by Robeson Oil, a house of service built by Lipolis Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Get Lipolis by Hightower Westchester, managing your wealth through fiduciary standard by White Plains Hospital, by Michael Lambriola, landscape design and construction of Armonk, and by Tompkins Mahopac Bank. We are produced by Shark Creative. This is the Cup of Joe political show. We are joined by Westchester 91st District Assemblyman Steve Otis. The 91st District covers the Sound Shore area. Steve Otis, welcome back to Westchester Talk Radio. I know it has been a tumultuous week in Albany. Were you surprised by Governor Cuomo announcing his resignation?
No, I think that it was inevitable. I think that the investigation that was released by the Attorney General's office sort of culminated what began in the spring, which was a lot of questions. And, what I said at the time then is that no person is above the law, and that the governor should be held to the same standard that others would be held to, whether in the private sector or the public sector. For the behavior that had been alleged, and that's the way it played out. So I think that very optimistic about the transition to Kathy Hochul, who I know well, and she has been a long time, originally a local official with the town of Hamburg, then Erie County clerk. Then she won a very important congressional race, fighting against what were the big issue in that race was fighting some of the economic and social service policies of Paul Ryan, and came from sort of fighting for working families and fighting for senior citizens, especially in some of those proposals. Held that for one term, and then as lieutenant governor, she is in Westchester all the time. She is in every corner of the state, and really, as I think, as people now are getting to hear what she has been up to the last 7 years, many people in Westchester already know. She'll go to meet with local chamber of commerce groups, with local activist groups, with local business leaders individually. She's head of the state Regional Economic Development Council's umbrella group. We have a very active Regional Economic Development Council for Westchester. So very tied into those policies. Also worked on heroin and opiate addiction and substance abuse as one of her priorities as lieutenant governor. But she will, and at times you could see her schedule posted online, and you would sort of, your jaw would drop. I'm sure no person as lieutenant governor traveled the state as much as she did. You'd look at her schedule, and she would be maybe starting off in upstate in the morning, something in New York City, back upstate for an afternoon event, then to Suffolk County or Westchester County, and then maybe back into the city, or maybe a late flight back to her home, which is in Buffalo. And hardworking, knows the community, very a smart person, and I'm very optimistic about the transition being smooth and her doing a good job as governor.
It seems like she's somebody who could unite upstate and downstate and have everybody kind of meet in the middle in Albany, which is right in the middle.
Well, I think that's true. I think that she certainly has been in New York City a lot, sort of visiting groups and things. So the idea that this is an upstate person who is not familiar with downstate suburb or New York City issues would not be accurate, because she's been very, very visible down here. But I will tell you, my wife is from Buffalo, and so I know Buffalo well, and it's pretty rough politics up there as well, but she's very well respected throughout the entire state. And among other things on my bookshelf here, you see a Buffalo Bills stacking doll. This could be the year that New York's only professional football team, the Buffalo Bills, wins the Super Bowl, because we have, I think, the first governor from Buffalo since Grover Cleveland. So it is maybe the stars will align, and we'll have a a Super Bowl champion with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, everybody in NFL training camps right now. High hopes for the Bills with their great young star quarterback, Josh Allen, obviously. Might Governor Cuomo still be impeached after all of this, even though he's going to resign?
Well, I'm not sure what the legalities are of that. I think that's being investigated. And so I know this, that our Assembly Democratic Conference, that at some juncture we will meet and have that discussion. And I'd be eager to hear what the law is and what my colleagues have to say. So I don't think I am in a position to predict. I think that I do think that for the issues that have been raised, not just on the sexual harassment issues, but on some of the other issues, they've been out there in terms of in the public discourse, and I think that people will come to their own views. Whether we're going to spend the resources on further investigation, I don't know. I also don't know how deep our Assembly Judiciary Committee has gotten into those other areas already, and they may have. So we'll see.
What would be the point of impeaching Andrew Cuomo at this point if he's not going to be here anymore in 2 weeks anyway?
You know, I'm not sure, but I'm waiting to hear more about what all that means legally, and I'm not sure I'm the best expert on that. I think the biggest focus is that we want Kathy Hochul to be successful and to focus on some of the tough issues we have right now. We have issues related to, again, COVID recovery, but not just COVID recovery. We're dealing with a resurgence of COVID throughout the country, and even in states with lower percentages. Here in Westchester and in the Assembly District I represent, the numbers are on an upswing with the variant. And so what are we doing about that? Those are the things that we're working on. In addition to something that's been a priority for a number of months now, is we now have the different programs of relief related to COVID. And so some of them have rolled out better than others. And one of the questions we're asking is about that. You know, I chair the Assembly Committee on Science and Technology. And one piece of this that we certainly are looking into is a lot of times when you, as we did with unemployment insurance, have a big volume increase in terms of what a state agency has to deal with. So state agencies will then go to the private sector and partner with big tech companies to try and come up with scalable solutions to get unemployment insurance out. We had a call just yesterday from somebody having problems with the bureaucracy related to updating their vaccination passport. More broadly, I think at the state level, the question has to be asked, what is the right protocol for states to do these things in-house? What's their ability to ramp up? Because you don't know what agency you're going to need to really grow your online presence to deal with an unanticipated problem like we've had on a few of these. And this is something that requires some additional attention, because the world keeps moving. And so it was the Department of Labor that time. We have a Department of Health issue. We have an issue right now with the rollout of the emergency rent relief, which has been slowed, and that's being handled by a different state agency. So we need to know a lot more about what's the best practices for transitioning to a ramp-up situation. I don't think we're there yet, but it's certainly something that's high on my list of things that we need to look at from the legislative point of view.
And you've been a big supporter of small businesses through all of this. Do you see small businesses recovering step by step here as we try to reopen, yet we still have to battle the Delta variant and much more, it seems?
Well, I think it's unfortunately a situation of a few steps forward and then a one step back. And so we're talking to businesses and monitoring the situation. One of the things that Lieutenant Governor Hochul indicated when she spoke yesterday was on these COVID issues, what is the role of the state going to be? A lot of this stuff has been sent down to County Department of Health and to school districts to figure out for themselves. And maybe on some circumstances, the case-by-case basis, it makes some sense because the counts in different communities in different parts of the state are different. But I got the sense from her comments yesterday that they were going to take a fresh look about what pieces of this maybe need to get a better direction from the State Department of Health. So we will see. Not only will that process change, but all of our analysis will change based upon, as it has been throughout, as the science changes, our knowledge of the ailment changes. And so I watch Dr. Fauci, I guess almost every day he's on, and he's sort of sending that message. But I think that currently the best advice is that in indoor situations, even if you're vaccinated, probably one should exercise some care in if you're close with people, and what businesses do in terms of business. Some businesses are saying only people that are vaccinated. Some businesses are saying you can only come in with a mask. Likewise, our school districts are doing an analysis right now, what's best for them. Some of our school districts are going to decide on their own, for the time being, mask only for the kids until we know more. And, parents are in different places on this, but I think many parents, I think, would be happier if the age of vaccination eventually will get lower, and that would relieve some of the fear. One of the things that we've been seeing around the country is that while this was not the case necessarily last year, some of the kids under 12 who have gotten COVID have had more serious versions of the ailment. So this is a concern to everybody.
You brought up previously a few minutes ago the rent moratorium situation, and that for renters, obviously they'll get an extension now based upon what President Biden did recently, the eviction moratorium. I came across something that said, and you also brought up about the distribution of the funding. I came across something that said if the money is not distributed by September 15th, the state could lose that funding. Is there any real danger in that, or does this really take time to make sure the money goes to where it's supposed to go?
Well, I think we're trying to get answers in terms of it is the office's families and children's services that is distributing that money. And we're trying to get answers on what the holdup is in terms of disqualification. I think the money's going to get out the door quicker than that, and I hope our friends in Washington will make sure that we don't lose any of that. But the bigger question is for tenants and for landlords is we need to get that money out the door. The moratorium on eviction really can't go on forever. On the other hand, we need the money to get out the door to be able to end that eviction moratorium, because we cannot have a situation where we have thousands of people displaced because of the timing of this federal money through the state. We need to make that happen, and then deal with the eviction situation, which right now the state timetable is preempted by the feds anyway. So we'll continue to follow that. But the short answer is money. We need to get that money out the door. Landlords need it. Small building owners need it, and the tenants need it. And there's a way the federal government has provided money to basically clear the deck and keep most people whole. And we need to take advantage of that.
Here we are 2 to 3 weeks away from the start of school in Westchester and around New York State. The way things stand right now, do you see schools reopening fully as of today?
Well, I think it's too early to tell. I think that the school districts are not sure, and I've tracked what the school districts that I represent are saying, and a lot of them are sort of figuring it out themselves. So I think the goal is full opening, even with some precautions there at the school. I think that's everyone's goal, and I hope we can get there. But it is something that the school administrators are looking at, and SED is looking at. I had some phone calls this week with folks on our assembly staff related to education, health, and government operations to understand the mixture of law, who has the power to do what, what's in the Department of Health's hands, SED's hands, and we no longer have the state of emergency that was going on that allowed a lot of this to get centralized at the state. So we're sort of have defaulted to what was the pre-existing state law. Different entities have different powers now, including school districts and the county Department of Health. But I think this is all going to get revisited. The legislature may have to get back into the mix, or soon to be Governor Hochul may take some initiative if the statistics get worse, and that's what we're tracking.
When Kathy Hochul takes office in a few weeks, does she need to clean house to some extent? Some observers say that's what she needs to do, even within the Democratic Party. And yet that might not be the prudent thing to do if you want to keep government rolling the way it's supposed to.
Well, I think that the answer that she gave yesterday, I think, is the right answer, which she is going to do it on a case-by-case basis. She certainly made it pretty clear that she was not going to keep folks that she thought were involved in some of the behaviors that led to the governor's resignation. But beyond that, she is governor on her own terms, and so she has the right to keep or not keep anyone that she wants. That being said, the governor, the current governor, and the agencies have a lot of good quality people running agencies, people that do good stuff. And so I think that Kathy Hochul is going to make wise choices through that. And I'd expect we'd see a mix of continuity and change depending upon her judgment.
Any word as to who the next lieutenant governor might be?
No, and I think there are probably dozens of good candidates. I think in this case, it's a very a personal choice on the soon-to-be governor's part. When David Patterson was elevated to the governorship after Eliot Spitzer resigned, he appointed Richard Ravitch, who was an experienced governmental leader, had been the head of MTA and other heavy-duty governmental assignments. And so one route to go is to have somebody who's an experienced government hand there to be helpful. But we will see. I expect she will pick someone good, and I expect she'll pick someone from a downstate just to balance the twosome, as it has been the case for many of our governors if they've been from downstate, have balanced their tickets with somebody from another corner of the state.
Point of New York state law is the next lieutenant governor will be sitting, the next lieutenant governor, will it be simply by appointment, or does that person need approval from one or both houses of the legislature in Albany?
Well, so this is very interesting because when Richard Ravitch was appointed lieutenant governor, there was question about whether or not the governor had the ability to appoint a lieutenant governor. And the previous times where we've had vacancies, the majority leader of the Senate is next in line of succession and was the de facto lieutenant governor while remaining head of the Senate. And that was the case with Warren Anderson and in some other situations over the decades. David Patterson said, no, I have a right to appoint somebody, and he appointed Richard Ravitch. It went to the courts. The Court of Appeals says the governor can do that, fill that vacancy as of right by him or herself, and that's where the law stands now.
How about Steve Otis for lieutenant governor?
Well, I think I like what I'm doing now. So I don't think I'm in the running for the position. I think it's likely to be somebody from New York City, but we will see. But I will tell you, I love the work in the assembly. I love the committee assignments I have, the issues I get to working on education issues, local government issues, science and technology issues. Very interested in right now, we're doing some work with our science and technology committee on the issue of how we can do a better job in New York in getting electric vehicle charging stations deployed in the state, which seems to be a problem all over the country. But electric vehicles are part of our future towards addressing the climate change problem. But people aren't going to buy them if they don't feel that they can rejuice up if they travel outside of their area. So one of the issues among many I'm working on, I'll throw another one at you, which is very interesting. Another science and technology, but an environmental issue, is the issue of cryptocurrency mining. And most people say, what the hell is that? And I said a while back, that what the hell is that? But what this is there are many forms of, in cryptocurrency, there's a validation process through these transactions. And one of the forms of validation uses big banks of computers that can use tons of energy. And they're now opening up old, dirty power plants. This is not just a New York issue, it's a national and international issue where everyone is saying, we have to find an alternative to this because we're trying to reduce energy use, save the planet, and cryptocurrency mining is sort of like a black hole that is really going to threaten our climate change target. So I'm working with environmental groups around the state and some upstate colleagues. But it's one of these issues you're all going to hear more about because people, Janet Yellen's talking about it. The Chinese have decided it's bad for the environment. They're curtailing it in China, which sends a message. And many of the economic thought leaders around the world are saying, and in Europe as well, saying we have to rein that one kind of what is called authentication in, so that we have enough energy to run our webcasts and turn on our lights and all the other things we need to do. Lots of stuff going on, all very interesting.
By the way, do you see a real future for cryptocurrency in this country, that it becomes a lot more expanded than what it is right now? I know a couple of people involved in it, they seem to think so, but they have obviously vested interest in that.
Yeah, I think I've been following the issue, and I think that it's certainly something that there's a lot of growth, but I also think there are issues of cybersecurity, consumer security, making sure that one's assets and one's holdings are protected. And another issue I'm working on, which is the ransomware issue. Cryptocurrency becomes one of the tools by which the criminals that are doing these ransomware takedowns of businesses and local governments and school districts, they want to be paid via cryptocurrency because it's harder to trace. And so I think we need a lot of help from and we're getting this from our federal intelligence agencies to drill down on this. So there are a lot of questions, but I think as compared to the old school banking system, we're going to want to make sure that there are the controls for the individual that are protected in how this evolves. And so certainly an issue we're looking at in Albany, but probably the federal government is going to take more of a lead on this because of the international financial ramifications of these transactions.
Steve Otis, Assemblyman, 91st District here in Westchester, covering the Sound Ashore area. Steve Otis, we thank you as always for your insights. Let's talk again soon. I know things are quite busy in Albany, and I have a feeling they're going to get a bit busier in the weeks to come.
John, thank you. Always great to be on with you. You're on a great broadcast.
Thank you, Steve Otis. We'll talk again, hopefully sometime soon. Right here in Westchester, Talk Radio, westchestertalkradio.com, produced by Shark Creative, made possible by Robeson Oil, the house of service built by Lipolis Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Get Lipolis by Hightower Westchester, managing your wealth through fiduciary standards by White Plains Hospital, and by Michael Lambriola, landscape design and construction of Armont, also by Tompkins Mahopac Bank. Catch all of our Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, Dutchess, Orange, and Fairfield County talk radio programming on our YouTube channel, Shark Creative YouTube, and download our app. Yes, we have an app now. Take it everywhere and anywhere you go. It's called Westchester Talk.